You are listening to the Be Your Own Coach podcast. This is Deanne Day, episode number 3, How to Get What You Want. So, jumping right into it, the first thing I want to say is that you have to identify specifically what it is that you actually want. Sometimes we come up with goals like, oh, I want to travel more, or I want to be a little bit more healthy this year. But what exactly does that mean? When you say you want to travel more, where is it that you want to go? And when do you want to go there? And maybe how often do you want to travel? Like, how many times per year do you think you want to travel? But more specifically, planning the first trip, where is it that you want to go and when do you want to go? Or if you have a health goal, what specifically do you mean when you say I want to be more healthy? Does that mean you want to work out 5 times a week for 30 minutes each time? Or maybe it means maybe you have high blood pressure and you want to get those numbers down. Maybe you're taking medication and your hope is to be off the medication. Maybe you want to start eating more vegetables. Like, what specifically is it that you want to accomplish? So, being very specific is important because it also gives you direction into like what some of your next steps should be. And then taking time to think about why it is you want to accomplish this goal in the first place is pretty important. The reason I say that is because during your journey of trying to accomplish this goal, there are going to be plenty of times that you're going to want to give up, or you're going to want to quit, or you're going to want to sit out on a workout, or you're going to, not want to follow through. But when you can remember why it is you want to accomplish this goal, why this goal is so important to you, then you'll be a little bit more inspired to follow through on taking those steps that you need to take in order to accomplish it. So I say taking a little bit of time to figure out why you want to accomplish this goal will be an important step. So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the model. And this is a key part of what what you will use in order to get what you want. So what you're seeing here is the model. You see circumstance, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. So the model suggests that we all have circumstances that happen in our life, just different situations, and they're all completely neutral until we have a thought about them. And then the way we're thinking about the situation or the circumstance is going to determine how we feel. And those feelings that we're experiencing are going to cause us to take different actions. We're either going to, do certain things, or we're going to decide not to do anything or not to do certain things because of how we're feeling. And then if we continue to take those actions again and again, over time, we are going to get a specific result. And it could be a good result that we've been working really hard to get, or it can be a result that we just absolutely don't want, but we got it anyway because of the actions we were taking. So the model is is a pretty important piece. And then you can see this arrow going back from results to thoughts. And this is just indicating that all of the results that we have in our life, we have them because of the way that we have been thinking, right? So if you have a result to where maybe you have lost 10 pounds, then you have that result because of how you've been thinking. Maybe you've been thinking, I've got to go to the gym. I'm determined to lose this weight. I'm not going to miss a day. I'm going to prepare my meals. Meal prepping is fun. Like those thoughts, or I can't wait to get to the gym. Maybe you're listening to your podcast and you can't wait to get to the gym so that you can hear your favorite podcast. Like whatever thoughts that you have been having have had an impact on the result that you have gotten, which is you've lost the 10 pounds. So this is just showing you that all the results that we have in our life, we can trace them back to thoughts, the way that we have been thinking, whether those are good or not so good results that we have. So since the thought, when you look at this model, the circumstance is something that we just can't change. We cannot change a circumstance in the specific moment, right? But we can always change the way that we think about a circumstance. And if we do that, then it's going to change the way we feel, the way we act, and the results we get. So when we're looking at this little formula, we can see that our thoughts are the first thing within the formula that we actually have control of changing. And if we're able to do that, then we can also change the results that we get. Which means we need to get in the habit of thinking more intentionally. So when I say intentional, I was on Google checking out the definitions, and intentional is doing something when something is done on purpose. Like we meant to do it. Maybe we meant to do it because we wanted a certain thing to happen because we knew if we did this, we would get that. So doing something intentionally is like you're doing it on purpose. So when we say intentional thinking is to think in a certain way or think specific thoughts or think specific things on purpose. And the reason you would want to do that is because when you are thinking intentionally, you're using your brain in a really focused and purposeful way so that you're able to achieve whatever goal it is or to identify whatever answer it is you might be looking for. So, intentional thinking is a thing, and it plays a big part in helping you get what you want. So now back to this model. So initially, when you first saw the model, it was from forward to backward is circumstance, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. But if you want to focus on getting what you want, if you want to focus on a specific result, my suggestion is that we work the model backwards. So instead of focusing on the circumstance and how the circumstance impacts our thoughts, the thoughts create our feelings, the actions create our results, we should focus on the result that we want first, right? So what result is it that you want for your life? It could be to lose 20 pounds. It could be maybe you have a business and you want to get maybe 3 new clients by the end of next month. Maybe you have been wanting to write a book and you want to write and publish your book by the summer or the end of this year. Maybe you want to get a new job. Maybe you want to save a certain specific amount of money. Whatever your result is that you want, and be specific, you want to take a moment, write down the result that you want, so that you know specifically what it is you're working toward. Okay. So for the sake of this podcast, I'm going to share a result I want. And the result that I wanted was to take my mother to Africa. I want to take my mother to Africa, and I initially wanted to do it on her birthday. Okay. So that is the result that I want. Next, now that you figured out the result that you want, now take a moment to think about all the different actions that you will need to take in order to make this goal happen. So it's kind of like making like a to-do list of everything that needs to be done, right? And just write it all down, and so that you can figure out what exactly you would need to do in order to get these things done. So in my situation, the result that I want is to take my mother to Africa, so that she can experience the culture and so that she can learn about the history. But that's something I want to do too. I've never been to Africa, and this will be my first time going. And I would like to have that experience with her, learning about the culture, learning about history. So, what are some actions that I would need to take in order to make this happen? Well, one of the things I need to do, I feel like, is research how much it is. That's what I need to know. How much is this trip going to cost? And can I make it happen? Can I come up with this money? So researching how much the tickets are, how much tours are, how much the hotel stays are, how researching like what are the entry requirements and how much does it cost for those and how much does it cost for the shots that you have to get. And then after I do all that research, then figuring out, okay, how now I know how much money I need, right? So now I need to come up with a budget that I follow in my day-to-day life. And that also includes me saving for the trip, right? So in the process of working toward this Africa trip, some of the actions that I took is I found additional ways to make income so that I can save the extra money. I paid off some debt so that I was able to save more. Like once that debt was paid off, then I can save in bigger amounts. And then I had to figure out like getting the passports renewed and how to get a visa and just scheduling time off for the trip and scheduling appointments for the shots and just a bunch of different stuff had to be done. There was a lot of actions that had to be taken. And some of the actions I didn't know right up front. Sometimes when you're working towards your goal, you won't know every single thing, every single step that you have to take. But as you're on the journey, new things might come up. Just add it to the to-do list and plan to achieve it. So those are some of the actions that I had to take. So now you got your results, you got the actions that you need to take to accomplish the result that you want to achieve. So the next thing is, if you're working the model, you got your results, you got the actions that you need to take. Now, what are the emotions that you need to feel that are going to get you to take those actions, right? Because if our feelings impact our actions, if the emotions we're feeling impact the things we decide to do, then we need to be feeling a certain way so that we can take those actions so we can get the result we want. So what feelings is it that you would need to feel to take the actions that you need to take to get the result that you want? And so for me, some of the feelings that I felt were determined. Like I needed to feel determined because any like so many distractions, it would be like a long-term goal, right? So it's not just happening tomorrow. It's not like I can just do a couple things and it's there. It's a long-term goal, which means I'm going to have different distractions, different temptations, different things that are going to come up to kind of steer me away from working toward the goal. And so I needed to feel determined to accomplish the goal. I also felt excited because the feeling of excitement got me like, wanting to get up and go earn extra money or wanting to research so that I can learn about like the culture or the prices or the entry requirements, right? And also being curious had me wanting to do those things as well. I also needed to feel disciplined, right? Disciplined in following my budget, disciplined in like continuing to earn that extra income, disciplined in refusing to waste or spend any money that didn't need to be spent. And then I felt proud as well. Like, oh my God, I'm about to do this for my mom. I'm about to make this happen for me. Like these are feelings that I felt along the way that helped me to take the actions that I needed to take in order to make this trip happen for my mother and I. So the next thing in the formula, you got your result. You've taken a list of different actions that you'll need to take. You have identified the feelings that you need to feel. And then also, the next thing you need to do is what is it that you can be thinking that can cause you to feel those emotions that you need to feel in order to take the actions. And so for me, as far as determined was concerned, and a thought that I had was that I'll do whatever it takes to take my mom to Africa. It's just something that I really wanted. And I was just determined, like, this trip was going to be worth all the sacrifices. I don't want to live with the regret of not taking her because it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. And so I'm just like determined to not have that regret of not following through and not actually doing it. So those are some thoughts that caused me to feel determined. Things that made me feel organized was deciding I'm gonna track the different deadlines and I'm gonna track my savings and stuff in a spreadsheet so that everything was there and organized so I could see it. The emotions that made me feel proud is this is like a trip of a lifetime. I'm actually making it happen. Like those are things that made me proud. Thoughts that I would think to make me feel disciplined is I'm gonna save all extra money. I refuse to miss out on a chance to earn extra income, and I'm only going out if it's free. I was determined I am not spending no extra money. If it's free, I'll be there. If I don't have to use too much gas to get there. I mean, I was on a tight budget and I was just determined because I didn't want to have that regret. It was something that I wanted to do and I was excited about it. Like I finally get to, if I follow through with this plan, I finally get to visit Africa. So those are some of the thoughts that I was thinking. What are some things that you would be feeling? First of all, what are some of the emotions that you think you would need to feel in order to take the actions that are required for you to make this happen? What are some of the emotions that you need to feel? So for some of you, you might need to feel excited, you might need to feel disciplined, you might need to feel determined, you might need to feel hopeful or optimistic or confident. There's so many different emotions, there's so many different ways to feel. And I just want you to take a moment to think, okay, you've got this list of actions that you need to take. What are some emotions that can get you up and get you active so that you're completing those tasks and get stuff done? Are you feeling strong? Are you feeling empowered? Are you feeling selfless? Are you feeling powerful, positive? How are you feeling? I don't know. And then after you got your feelings, what are some thoughts that you'll need to think in order to get you up, in order to get you moving, in order to get you feeling those feelings that you need to feel to get you going? So what is something that, like, if confident is your word, what is something that a thought you can think to feel confident? And then maybe a confident for me, like working toward the Africa trip, feeling confident. I have good, I'm good at planning trips. I'm good at bringing some of my goals to life. I can do this. I can make it happen. Like I was certain, like those are just different thoughts that I could have that would make me feel confident that this is going to happen. Um, yeah. So what about you? All right, so we got our result. We know what actions we need to take. We know what type of emotions we need to be feeling to help us take those actions. We have some ideas of what type of thoughts we need to be thinking to help us feel those feelings that we need to feel to take those actions, right? So that's pretty much that's the formula for getting what you want. Now we still have the C on the other end. Remember, the C is like a fact or something that's neutral. So the C in this case is pretty much going to be the same as your result. So the C is more of like written in goal format. So the C for me would be like, my goal is to take my mother to Africa on her birthday, right? So your goal is what you want and like including a deadline when you'd like to have it by, right? The result is more of what you got, right? So in my situation, The Africa trip still has not happened, but it is on track to happen in March, which is next month. So my goal, the initial goal that I created was to take my mom to Africa on her birthday in January, and actually January 2023 was my initial goal, right? Um, and as y'all know, this is 2024, so I did not hit that goal. So the result I got instead is I'm taking my mom to Africa before their rainy season in March of 2024. Okay. So I do want to acknowledge that sometimes when we make goals, and we give ourselves deadlines, we might not hit the deadline, but we can still accomplish the goal. Like, I would much rather be taking my mom to Africa in March of 2024 than not at all, just because I didn't hit the goal in January of 2023. Right? So sometimes you might not hit the deadline, but that does not mean give up. Because if you've been working toward the goal, you've been making progress. And you can see that if you keep working, you can actually make this happen. So sometimes we might need to be a little bit more flexible with our deadline and just focus on hitting that goal. So for me, I just needed more time to save. It just wasn't happening. Uh, I needed, I guess, a year extra because that's what it took, a year and 3 months extra. My initial goal, and I think I had only given myself like September, October, November, December, January. I think I had only given myself like 6 months when I was initially deciding to plan the trip. And so I needed more than 6 months. So for me, it took about a year and a half to make this happen, but it's happening, right? So, um, things I want you to expect along your journey. Things that you should expect is you should expect to not feel like it. So maybe you've got a list of these actions that you need to do, and you decide that one day, like maybe Monday, you're going to work on a specific action. So maybe it's like your goal is to write a book or something. And so Monday, you're going to write the introduction, right? And you've got it scheduled in your calendar for like, I don't know, 2 o'clock. And 2 o'clock hits and you don't want to do it. Well, guess what? You're not going to always feel like it. And that doesn't mean don't do it anyway. Just expect that you're not going to feel like it sometimes and you need to do it anyway. Then something you should expect is thinking that it won't work. Because a lot of times we set these goals and then we start thinking that we can't make it happen. And then so we might be tempted to give up. As you can see, wanting to give up is also one of them. So just because you think it won't work doesn't mean you're right about it, unless you choose to be right about it. If you want to figure it out, you will be able to figure it out. We have access to a lot of resources. We can figure things out. We can make things happen. And the pathway might not be exactly how we expected, but we can still figure it out. We can make things happen. Also expect challenges and setbacks. Things are going to come up. Things aren't going to always work the way you expect them to. Things are going to come up that kind of knock you off your game, or they weren't part of the plan and it catches you off guard. Just because that happens doesn't mean you have to quit. Doesn't mean you have to stop. It might take you a little bit longer because now you got to overcome this challenge, or now you got to deal with this setback, but keep going. So expect the setbacks. And that way, if you're expecting them when they happen, you won't be all surprised that a setback or a challenge happened because you were expecting them anyway. And expect things to be hard, and expect that it will be worth it. In the end, once you accomplish the goal, it's going to be worth all of it. Everything that you went through, it'll be worth it, especially if you take time to acknowledge the fact that you accomplished it and take time to enjoy it. Sometimes we set goals and then we accomplish them and then we don't even enjoy them because we're too focused on the next thing. All right. So how to be your own coach in regards to getting what you want. Because when you're working toward what you want, you do need some coaching. And maybe you don't have a coach, and that's fine. Be your own coach at least. Be your own coach. And one of the ways I suggest you do that is first to journal, whether it is a digital journal or a physical journal. It doesn't even matter. You just need somewhere to write your thoughts, write what you're thinking, write what's going on, write the goals you want, write the things you need to do to accomplish them. In this case, you're writing the actions and you're writing the feelings that you need to feel, and you're writing what it is that you need to be thinking in order to feel what you need to feel to accomplish the actions. So that is all stuff that needs to be written. It's not stuff that you need to just be sitting there thinking about, because you you won't really, you could see it better, understand it better. It's going to be more useful to you if you write it all out in a way that's organized and in a way that you can see and you can kind of look at, so you can understand what it is you need to do. And then you also need to read it, especially if you're thinking, if you're coming up with intentional thoughts that you need to be thinking so that you can feel a certain way and take these actions you need to take. You need to, it's not going to come natural for you at first to just be thinking intentionally. You're going to be needing to read those thoughts so you can remember to think them, so you can get them into your brain, right? And one way you can do that is by setting reminders. So if you have a thought that you want to think, like, I'm going to get this done by any means necessary. That was one of my thoughts. Or maybe I'm making this happen, or I don't want to live with the regret of not doing this. Like, whatever you need to, whatever the thought is that you want to remember that is going to serve you and help you get the goal, your brain might not be used to thinking it on its own. So if you write it on a little post-it note, hang it up somewhere where you can see it, then you're kind of, and when you're reading it, it's like you're embedding that thought into your brain. The more you see it, the more you think it, and then it's going to become more natural, and then your brain will do it on its own. But right now we're at the phase where we need to be training our brain to think more intentional. So we have to give it intentional thoughts to think, right? So that's why we want to set those reminders. You can put them on your phone. You can hang it on a mirror. You can wherever you look, you can post it on your laptop. You can hang it on your desk at work, just somewhere where you're at often, maybe the refrigerator. So set those reminders and be intentional. Be selective on the information that you allow yourself to think, or that you allow yourself to be exposed to. So sometimes motivational videos might get you feeling a certain way and get you motivated to do things. Maybe a certain movie does that for you. Maybe a song does that. Maybe there's a certain podcast that inspires you and gives you ideas and helps you like stay focused and helps you keep working on your goal. Then listen to that podcast more often. Listen to those songs more often. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a quote, whatever it is that inspires you and gets you going, and and that type of thinking aligns with what you're working toward. Be intentional and get more of that and less of the negative stuff that might hold you back, that might make you feel that doubt, that might instill fear inside of you. So be intentional on on the type of information you allow your brain access to, because it will be influenced. And then be more aware. Notice how you're feeling and how you're thinking. So when you're feeling like very disciplined, what is it that you're thinking that's causing you to feel so disciplined? If you're feeling angry, what thought is it that you're having that's causing you to feel angry? If you're feeling discouraged and you don't want to work toward the goal, what is it that you're thinking that's causing you to feel so discouraged? Just be aware of what you're thinking and how you're feeling. It's important that you're aware, because it's impacting the result that you're going to get. So if you're not even aware, it's kind of like you can't gain control, right? It's like you're not even driving. You don't even know where you're going because you're not even trying to drive, right? You just going wherever the bus takes you instead of getting a car and driving to where you want to go. And then last thing, be kind to yourself. Some of us are so mean to ourselves. If we make a mistake, then we're beating ourselves up for it. We can't give ourselves. We beat ourselves up for failing. We talk down to ourselves for failing as if failing isn't supposed to be part of the process. It is supposed to happen because then we learn from it and then we improve and we go out and do better next time. So plan to fail. I didn't put that on there, I don't think, but plan to fail because that's going to be part of the process. And when you do, be kind to yourself about it. Avoid having negative self-talk, right? And do it at all times. Just focus on learning. So those are things you can do to be your own coach in regards to trying to get whatever it is that you want. Follow that formula that I told you. And once you start to accomplish or achieve your goals or even make progress toward them, let me know about it. Put it in the comments. I know what's going to happen. I'm doing it myself. I told you I'm working toward Africa. It's going to happen in March. And this is the formula I followed. So stay connected with me. Let's stay connected. You can find me on Facebook at Deanne Life Coach Day. You can visit my YouTube channel, which also help host my podcast. And the podcast is Be Your Own Coach, which is what you're tuned into right now. And then if you are interested in hiring me as a life coach, you can visit my website and learn more about my Mindset Makeover program. It is a 15-week one-on-one coaching program where I will help you develop the mindset that you need so that you can start getting the results that you want. But until then, you be your own coach. And I thank you so much for tuning in, and I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, I will let you go. Until next time.